Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building codes are responsive to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in charge.
What happens when a polished politician meets a wrecking ball with a microphone? A meltdown that feels straight out of California chaos. Gavin Newsom showed up with his Hollywood hair and reheated talking points. But Charlie Kirk came swinging like a wrecking crane tearing through a tofu buffet. This wasn't a debate. It was a demolition in broad daylight. And if you thought Newsom could survive the heat, think again. He brought a salad to a barbecue, and it burned up faster than anyone could believe.
Newsom. The hell?
Oh, no,
the hell is... who's a better actor? I'm not sure. They're both up for an award.
I was watching him on MSNBC. He's got a new hand motion. I was going to text him. It's this. It's got usually it's kind of this, and then he's doing this. He was doing this thing on MSNBC. He's doing this whole thing. Look, he is the fakest person I think I've ever met in my entire life. So synthetic, and honestly, that's very dangerous, incredibly dangerous. He's the type of person that could just stare at you oh yeah, I voted for Trump, and just pass a lie.
Picture a man who looks like he stepped straight out of a toothpaste commercial, convinced he was destined to save the world. But in reality, he saved no one and just made brunch even pricier. That's Gavin Newsom, the walking Instagram filter of politics. Running California gets a documentary titled How to Make Paradise Unlivable in 10 Easy Steps. Then along came Charlie Kirk, who usually rants into microphones someone just unplugged his Wi-Fi, finally locking onto a target shinier than his own hair pomade. Gavin, I've never met a hair product I didn't love. Newsom.
You right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports,
right.
that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
If you're enjoying this takedown, make sure to smash that subscribe button because it only gets hotter from here. Charlie didn't need much to dismantle Gavin. Just a couple of pie charts, a working calculator, and maybe a highlight reel of every disastrous policy California's Silver Fox signed with that smug grin. What Gavin calls leadership is nothing more than performance art, with a budget bigger than most countries and results smaller than his approval rating outside the bubble of coastal yoga studios.
Well, first, understand, being the inaugural guest, it wasn't really even sure what I was going into, right? Because at the front end, it was like, hey, there'll be no, gotcha questions. It'll just be a discussion, which was largely true. And secondly, when you arrive and they tell you all this stuff, they're like, oh, his son is a fan and all that. It was so over the top, charm offensive. I was like, are you going to want to become a member of Turning Point?
Start with the basics. California, once the land of sunshine and startups, is now home to medieval-style plagues. And yes, literally. While Gavin was busy giving TED Talks on equity and climate justice, his city's morphed into real-life Oregon Trail reenactments, minus the wagons and plus hepatitis outbreaks. Streets lined with tents, sidewalks coated in what we'll politely call organic matter. And yet Newsom tweets about resilience. He's hosting a poetry slam instead of actually running a state.
Look, it was really interesting. It was obvious that the governor wants to move to the middle on a lot of the political issues that the Democrat Party has been on the unpopular side of. The one that's making the most headlines, obviously, is biological men in women's sports. And he said he totally agrees with me, and that's a direct quote.
Were you surprised by that?
I was a little taken aback. I anticipated a little bit more of a politician answer. You could kind of see that laced in, but then he just bluntly said, look, I agree with you. It's about fairness.
Let's talk about homelessness, because Gavin sure won't, unless it's to unveil another multi-billion-dollar plan that hires more consultants than it builds homes. He's spent more money on homelessness than the GDP of a small island nation. Yet the only thing growing faster than the budget is the number of people sleeping on sidewalks. It's like he took Build Back Better and rewrote it into back, tweet, and you're on your own.
In fact, we are course correcting after 4 failed years under Joe Biden and all of the woke stuff and the anti-common sense movement. Gavin Newsom had me on his podcast, and I was shocked all of a sudden where he decided to diverge away from the orthodox opinion in the Democrat Party, which is as simple as saying that it's not fair that a biological man can compete in female.
And what about crime? California has gotten so progressive that even the criminals look confused. Steal under $950 and it's not a felony. It's a lifestyle. Gavin's idea of justice reform feels like an apology note taped to the door of a looted Walgreens, while retail stores are fleeing faster than tourists who accidentally booked a hotel room in downtown San Francisco. But Gavin? He's probably busy rehearsing his next press conference, blaming crime on climate change and systemic inequality caused by everyone but him. And when it comes to kids, his version of preparing them for the future means keeping them out of classrooms, lowering standards, and handing out diplomas like participation trophies, leaving California's public schools as a tragic contest of how low can we go, while he brags about equity as students struggle to read past the login instructions on an iPad.
It was a really interesting interview. What it came off like, it was like Charlie was trying to teach Gavin how to be a human being. Gavin came off like a Hollywood actor, somebody who is disconnected from regular people, and when he is around us, he has to kind of conform, like an alien almost. You're living over there on a whole different planet, and then you come down to this planet to do it with.
Under Gavin's watch, California went from top tier to total disaster faster than you can say state income tax. And that tax rate, oh, it's progressive all right. So progressive it hunts down anyone making more than minimum wage who dares to stay within state lines. His tax policy feels like a haunted house. You walk in wide-eyed and hopeful, but leave screaming with empty pockets. People are fleeing California like it's a sinking yacht. Yet Gavin is still on deck giving speeches about how the rising water somehow proves his climate plan is working. Tech companies, families, retirees, they're all packing up for safer ground, and Gavin calls it a challenge, blaming if Texas broke into California, spiked housing costs, and plastered San Francisco's sidewalks with poop emojis. California under Newsom is one flickering light bulb away from going full Mad Max, and his big idea of fighting climate change was shutting down power plants before securing backups, which left the state with rolling blackouts, energy shortages, and lectures from a guy charging his electric car with a grid he can't even keep on. California has more sunshine than a Pixar movie, yet somehow the AC dies every single heat wave.
It's been a point of pride for you that you didn't do a four-year degree. And
well, yeah, because I represent most of the country. You guys have become so college credentialed and educated that you guys snobbishly look on the muscular class of this country, the people that kept things afloat and running during COVID. Yeah, I mean, the majority of the country didn't go to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, Caltech, or Cal Berkeley, right?
Are you arguing for the disestablishment, the end of higher education?
I think it's going to happen no matter what. Am I advocating for the end of the pursuit of learning?
Let's talk climate, Gavin's supposed specialty. This is the man who blames every wildfire on climate change while refusing to do the basic forest management that could actually stop the state from turning into ash. Year after year, instead of thinning forests, he thins out common sense and points fingers at people who drive trucks, as if that's the real culprit. Wildfires aren't acts of God anymore. They're acts of Gavin. And then comes his presidential fantasy. Oh, he wants it, he denies it, but the hair gel tells the truth. He's been touring red states like a bored influencer, chasing relevance, lecturing governors with booming economies while pretending California isn't bleeding residents and businesses in a slow-motion collapse. Every move is a photo op, every policy a vanity project, like he's auditioning for a political biopic titled The Audacity of Hair.
He does not listen, ever. Maybe, is this the tipping point for him? Did you get the feeling he really wants to change?
I don't know. I think he wants to be president, Sean, more than anything else on the planet. I think you can agree he has more political ambition than almost anybody in the Democrat Party. And I think he understands that the entire country is moving center-right and is accelerating.
And the cherry on top, Gavin still struts around pretending it's all working. He insists California is a model for the nation, which is technically true if the model is meant to be a giant red warning sign. Want your state buried under bloated bureaucracy, sky-high housing costs, broken schools, surging crime, and endless wildfires? Just follow Gavin's lead, but don't forget sunscreen, a tent, and a backup generator. You'll need them. Then enters Charlie Kirk, finally doing what millions have begged for, calling out the lunacy in broad daylight. Because let's face it, someone had to. Gavin has coasted for years on cheekbones and climate buzzwords, treating California like a Hollywood movie set. Picture perfect from afar but chaos up close. It's all style, no substance. Spin without a steering wheel. When budgets collapse, his solution is more spending. When businesses flee, he hikes taxes, When schools fail, he rewrites the numbers. When homelessness explodes, he builds shiny shelters. Nobody uses. It's reverse monopoly. He pays you to leave the hotel while bankrupting the state on purpose.
Right. Is that at a lot of these schools, they're not pursuing what is good, true, and beautiful. It's become the oppression Olympics and a weaponized complaint seminar of people sitting in the circle and finding out who's been offended the most that day.
Some would argue $1 million more in lifetime earnings, more likely to get married, less likely to get divorced, more likely to be civically engaged with college degrees. And you would say
all of those is true. It's just not everyone that goes.
California, once the shining beacon of the American dream, has been reduced to a dystopian sandbox for Gavin's ideological experiments. It's no longer the land of opportunity. It's the land of endless road construction, $7 gas, and 10,000-word mission statements that say absolutely nothing. And don't be fooled by the Hollywood smile, because behind it is a man governing with the cold detachment of a tech CEO delivering a TED Talk during mass layoffs. He says all the right words, just never in the right order. A disaster with perfect teeth. Charlie Kirk didn't even have to shred Gavin apart. All he had to do was show the receipts, connect the dots, and point at the smoking crater left behind by his failed policies. Because Gavin Newsom isn't just a failed governor, he's the patron saint of delusional leadership. A man so obsessed with his own greatness that he either can't see his state crying for relief or just doesn't care. And why would he, when he'll always have the French Laundry to wine and dine in while California burns?
Yes, and I mean, same on my show. Anytime Gavin Newsom can come on the show. So, as from a presidential standpoint, I mean, Trump's going to be the nominee, so it's kind of just a waste of time. I do think it's actually healthy to have a conversation, though, and this is why I wish DeSantis would just, right now, see where he's at, drop out, become a great governor, and reassert that he's been a great governor and continue to be. I'll say nothing but positive things. But the national conversation is there are really two Americas being built right now. And California is a hellhole. It's a dystopian.
And if Gavin ever does stumble his way into the White House, don't worry. By then, most of California will already be living in Texas. If there's one thing he's perfected, it's losing Californians faster than a bad Tinder date loses interest. He's drained the middle class like a clearance rack at Whole Foods, with teachers, nurses, and small business owners fleeing not because of politics, but because they're tired of paying luxury prices for pothole-filled roads, random blackouts, and homes that cost more than a kidney on the black market. California has more coastline than nearly any other state. Yet somehow under Gavin's rule, flushing a toilet feels like committing a crime against nature. Droughts, fires, blackouts. California's natural disasters are now indistinguishable from its daily operations. Gavin didn't inherit a crisis. He built one, slapped solar panels on top, and then had the nerve to lecture the rest of America to do better.
No guiding beliefs at all. Just leave the Democrat Party. That's my advice to him. If you really want to be in elected office that bad, just leave the Democrat Party and just go run as like a moderate Republican and just have some sort of like...
Charlie Kirk pointing that out wasn't destruction. It was long overdue reality therapy. Gavin's entire political playbook is simple. Break everything. Gaslight the public into thinking it's their fault. Then host a summit about reimagining what used to work perfectly fine. He's got more buzzwords than solutions. Sustainable, inclusive, equitable. It's like a progressive Mad Libs missing the verbs. And behind the curtain are the lobbyists, corporate donors, and bureaucrats armed with PowerPoints that fix absolutely nothing. But here's the twist. Charlie didn't even have to work hard because Gavin Newsom destroyed himself. All Charlie did was shine a flashlight on the wreckage, exposing California as the ultimate cautionary tale. Gavin is the narrator, and the rest of America is praying he never takes this act national. The truth is simple. California under Newsom isn't just a state in decline, it's a blaring warning siren for the entire country. A crown jewel hollowed out into a stage play of slogans, sound bites, and photo ops.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the country didn't go to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, Caltech, or Cal Berkeley, right? Well, first, I mean, understand, being the inaugural guest, it wasn't really even sure what I was going into, right? Because at the front end, it was like, hey, you know, there'll be no, gotcha questions. It'll just be a discussion, which was largely true. And secondly, when you arrive and they tell you all this stuff, they're like, oh, his son is a fan and all that. It was like so over the top, like charm offensive. I was like, are you going to want to become a member of Turning Point?
Gavin struts across the stage like the star of his own biopic. But the audience, the people living with crime, chaos, collapsing schools, blackouts, and soaring costs, are walking out in droves. He governs like an actor reading lines written by lobbyists, with corporate donors in the director's chair and bureaucrats fumbling with the props. And when the curtain falls, all that's left is wreckage wrapped in press releases about equity and resilience. That's why Charlie Kirk's takedown landed so hard. It wasn't just personalities clashing. It was the moment someone ripped the glossy filter off and forced the nation to see the raw, unedited disaster Gavin created. The tents on sidewalks, the families priced out of their homes, the classrooms drowning under lowered standards, the rolling blackouts in the richest state in America, all laid bare. Kirk didn't need insults or theatrics. He had facts, numbers, and undeniable evidence. And when those receipts were read aloud, Gavin's perfect teeth and Hollywood hair couldn't hide the truth anymore. Because here's the scandal that cuts deeper than any punchline. Newsom doesn't just preside over failure, he packages it as progress and is already rehearsing how to sell that disaster to the rest of America. That's not leadership. It's delusion on a national scale. And if California is the future he's promising, the rest of the country better wake up fast before the nightmare spreads beyond the Pacific. So remember this moment. Remember the receipts. Remember the wreckage. Because California's collapse isn't just California's problem. It's the final warning. Thanks to Charlie Kirk, no one can claim they didn't see it coming. Because under Gavin Newsom, the golden dream became a wasteland dressed up in slick speeches and photo ops. And the mask has finally slipped. Comment your thoughts, hit like. And don't forget to subscribe for more explosive takedowns the media won't show you, because the next battle is only just beginning.